Before we begin, if you're finding peace through these sessions, we'd love for you to take a moment, when you're awake, of course, to leave a review and subscribe on whatever channel you're listening on. Your support helps others discover this space and join our journey to restful sleep. Welcome to Slothful Slumber, the podcast where we transform the vast knowledge of the internet into a gentle lullaby for your mind. I'm your host, Luna Dreamwell, and I'm here to guide you on a journey to tranquility through the soothing cadence of Wikipedia articles. Each episode will delve into the most wonderfully mundane and sleep-inducing topics, helping you drift off into a realm of serene dreams. So find your comfortable space, close your eyes, and let the dull hum of information carry you into a restful slumber. This Wikipedia article is titled Alfred Nobel. Alfred Bernhard Nobel, born the 21st of October, 1833, died the 10th of December, 1896, was a Swedish chemist, inventor, engineer, and businessman. He is known for inventing dynamite, as well as having bequeathed his fortune to establish the Nobel Prizes. He also made several other important contributions to science, holding 355 patents during his life. Born into the prominent Nobel family in Stockholm, Nobel displayed an early aptitude for science and learning, particularly in chemistry and languages. He became fluent in 6 languages and filed his first patent at the age of 24. He embarked on many business ventures with his family, most notably owning the company Bofors, which was an iron and steel producer that he had developed into a major manufacturer of cannons and other armaments. Nobel's most famous invention, dynamite, was an explosive made using nitroglycerin, which was patented in 1867. He further invented gelignite in 1875 and ballastite in 1887. Upon his death, Nobel donated his fortune to a foundation to fund the Nobel Prizes, which annually recognize those who conferred the greatest benefit to humankind. The synthetic element nobelium was named after him, and his name and legacy also survive in companies such as Dynamite Nobel and Akzo Nobel, which descend from mergers with companies he founded. Nobel was elected a member of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, which, pursuant to his will, would be responsible for choosing the Nobel laureates in physics and in chemistry. Biography, early life and education. Alfred Nobel was born in Stockholm, Sweden, on the 21st of October, 1833. He was the third son of Emmanuel Nobel, born 1801, died 1872, an inventor and engineer, and Henriette Nobel, born Alsell, born 1805, died 1889. The couple married in 1827 and had 8 children. The family was impoverished, and only Alfred and his 3 brothers survived beyond their childhood. Through his father, Alfred Nobel was a descendant of the Swedish scientist Olaus Rudbeck, born 1630, died 1702. Nobel's father was an alumnus of the Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm and was an engineer and inventor who built bridges and buildings and experimented with different ways of blasting rocks. He encouraged and taught Nobel from a young age. Following various business failures caused by the loss of some barges of building material, Nobel's father moved to St. Petersburg, then part of the Russian Empire, and grew successful there as a manufacturer of machine tools and explosives. He invented the veneer lathe, which made possible the production of modern plywood, and started work on the naval mine. In 1842, the family joined him in the city. Now prosperous, his parents were able to send Nobel to private tutors, and the boy excelled in his studies, particularly in chemistry and languages, achieving fluency in English, French, German, Russian, and Italian. For 18 months, from 1841 to 1842, Nobel attended the Jacobs Apologistic School in Stockholm, his only schooling. He never attended university. Nobel gained proficiency in Swedish, French, Russian, English, German, and Italian. He also developed sufficient literary skill to write poetry in English. His nemesis is a prose tragedy in 4 acts about the Italian noblewoman Beatrice Cenci. It was printed while he was dying, but the entire stock was destroyed immediately after his death, except for 3 copies, being regarded as scandalous and blasphemous. It was published in Sweden in 2003 and has been translated into Slovenian, French, Italian, and Spanish. Scientific career. As a young man, Nobel studied with chemist Nikolai Zinin. Then, in 1850, went to Paris to further the work. There he met Ascanio Sobrero, who had synthesized nitroglycerin 3 years before. Sobrero strongly opposed the use of nitroglycerin because it was unpredictable, exploding when subjected to variable heat or pressure. But Nobel became interested in finding a way to control and use nitroglycerin as a commercially usable explosive. It had much more power than gunpowder. In 1851, at age 18, he went to the United States for 1 year to study, working for a short period under Swedish-American inventor John Ericsson, who designed the American Civil War ironclad USS Monitor. Nobel filed his first patent, an English patent for a gas meter, in 1857, while his first Swedish patent, which he received in 1863, was on ways to prepare gunpowder. The family factory produced armaments for the Crimean War, 1853 to 1856, but had difficulty switching back to regular domestic production when the fighting ended and they filed for bankruptcy. In 1859, Nobel's father left his factory in the care of the second son, Ludwig Nobel, born 1831, died 1888, who greatly improved the business. Nobel and his parents returned to Sweden from Russia, and Nobel devoted himself to the study of explosives, and especially to the safe manufacture and use of nitroglycerin. Nobel invented a detonator in 1863 and in 1865 designed the blasting cap. On the 3rd of September, 1864, a shed used for preparation of nitroglycerin exploded at the factory in Heleneborg, Stockholm, Sweden, killing 5 people, including Nobel's younger brother, Emil. He was then deprived of his license to produce explosives. Fazed by the accident, Nobel founded the company Nitroglycerin AB in Winterviken so that he could continue to work in a more isolated area. Nobel invented dynamite in 1867, a substance easier and safer to handle than the more unstable nitroglycerin. Dynamite was patented in the United States and the United Kingdom and was used extensively in mining and the building of transport networks internationally. In 1875, Nobel invented gelignite, more stable and powerful than dynamite, and in 1887 patented ballastate, a predecessor of cordite. Nobel was elected a member of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences in 1884, the same institution that would later select laureates for 2 of the Nobel Prizes, and he received an honorary doctorate from Uppsala University in 1893. Nobel's brothers Ludwig and Robert founded the oil company Nobel and became hugely rich in their own right. Nobel invested in these and amassed great wealth through the development of these new oil regions. It operated mainly in Baku, Azerbaijan, but also in Cheleken, Turkmenistan. During his life, Nobel was issued 355 patents internationally, and by his death, his business had established more than 90 explosives and armament factories, despite his apparently pacifist character. Inventions. Nobel found that when nitroglycerin was incorporated in an absorbent inert substance like kieselguhr diatomaceous earth, it became safer and more convenient to handle. And this mixture he patented in 1867 as dynamite. Nobel demonstrated his explosive for the first time that year at a quarry in Red Hill, Surrey, England. In order to help re-establish his name and improve the image of his business from the earlier controversies associated with dangerous explosives, Nobel had also considered naming the highly powerful substance Nobel's safety powder, which is the text used in his patent, but settled with dynamite instead, referring to the Greek word for power. Nobel later combined nitroglycerin with various nitrocellulose compounds, similar to collodion, but settled on a more efficient recipe combining another nitrate explosive and obtained a transparent, jelly-like substance, which was a more powerful explosive than dynamite. Gelignite, or blasting gelatin, as it was named, was patented in 1876 and was followed by a host of similar combinations, modified by the addition of potassium nitrate and various other substances. Gelignite was more stable, powerful, transportable, and conveniently formed to fit into bored holes, like those used in drilling and mining, than the previously used compounds. It was adopted as the standard technology for mining in the age of engineering, bringing Nobel a great amount of financial success, though at a cost to his health. An offshoot of this research resulted in Nobel's invention of ballastite, the precursor of many modern smokeless powder explosives and still used as a rocket propellant. Nobel Prize. There is a well-known story about the origin of the Nobel Prize, although historians have been unable to verify it, and some dismiss the story as a myth. In 1888, the death of his brother Ludwig supposedly caused several newspapers to publish obituaries of Alfred in error. One French newspaper condemned him for his invention of military explosives, and this is said to have brought about his decision to leave a better legacy after his death. The obituary stated, "Le marchand de la mort est mort," the merchant of death is dead, and went on to say, Dr. Alfred Nobel, who became rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before, died yesterday. Nobel read the obituary and was appalled at the idea that he would be remembered in this way. His decision to posthumously donate the majority of his wealth to found the Nobel Prize has been credited to him wanting to leave behind a better legacy. However, it has been questioned whether or not the obituary in question actually existed. On the 27th of November, 1895, at the Swedish-Norwegian Club in Paris, Nobel signed his last will and testament and set aside the bulk of his estate to establish the Nobel Prizes, to be awarded annually without distinction of nationality. After taxes and bequests to individuals, Nobel's will allocated 94% of his total assets, 31,225,000 Swedish kroner, to establish the 5 Nobel Prizes. By 2022, the foundation had approximately 6 billion Swedish kroner of invested capital. The first 3 of these prizes are awarded for eminence in physical science, in chemistry, and in medical science or physiology. The 4th is for literary work in an ideal direction, and the 5th prize is to be given to the person or society that renders the greatest service to the cause of international fraternity, in the suppression or reduction of standing armies, or in the establishment or furtherance of peace congresses. The formulation for the literary prize being given for a work in an ideal direction, idealisk riktning in Swedish, is cryptic and has caused much confusion. For many years, the Swedish Academy interpreted ideal as idealistic and used it as a reason not to give the prize to important but less romantic authors, such as Henrik Ibsen and Leo Tolstoy. This interpretation has since been revised, and the prize has been awarded to, for example, Dario Fo and Jose Saramago, who do not belong to the camp of literary idealism. There was room for interpretation by the bodies he had named for deciding on the physical sciences and chemistry prizes, given that he had not consulted them before making the will. In his one-page testament, he stipulated that the money go to discoveries or inventions in the physical sciences and to discoveries or improvements in chemistry. He had opened the door to technological awards, but had not left instructions on how to deal with the distinction between science and technology, since the deciding bodies he had chosen were more concerned with the former. The prizes went to scientists more often than engineers, technicians, or other inventors. Sweden's central bank, Sveriges Riksbank, celebrated its 300th anniversary in 1968 by donating a large sum of money to the Nobel Foundation to be used to set up a sixth prize in the field of economics in honor of Alfred Nobel. In 2001, Alfred Nobel's great-great-nephew, Peter Nobel, born 1931, asked the Bank of Sweden to differentiate its award to economists given in Alfred Nobel's memory from the 5 other awards. This request added to the controversy over whether the Bank of Sweden Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel is actually a legitimate Nobel Prize. Health issues and death. In his letters to his mistress, Hess, Nobel described constant pain, debilitating migraines, and paralyzing fatigue, leading some to believe that he suffered from fibromyalgia. However, his concerns at the time were dismissed as hypochondria, leading to further depression. By 1895, Nobel had developed angina pectoris. On the 10th of December, 1896, he suffered a stroke, intracerebral hemorrhage, and was first partially paralyzed and then died, aged 63. He is buried in Norra begravningsplatsen in Stockholm. Based on his experimentation with explosives, his strenuous work habit, and the decline in his health at the end of the 1870s, some hypothesize that nitroglycerin poisoning was a contributing factor to his death. Personal life, religion. Nobel was Lutheran, and during his years living in Paris, he regularly attended the Church of Sweden abroad, led by Pastor Nathan Soderblom, who received the Nobel Peace Prize in 1930. He was an agnostic in youth and became an atheist later in life, though he still donated generously to the church. Romantic relationships and personality. Nobel remained a solitary character, given to periods of depression. He never married, although his biographers note that he had at least 3 loves. His first love was in Russia with a girl named Alexandra, who rejected his marriage proposal. In 1876, Austro-Bohemian Countess Bertha von Suttner became his secretary, but she left him after a brief stay to marry her previous lover, Baron Arthur Gundekar von Suttner. Her contact with Nobel was brief, yet she corresponded with him until his death in 1896, and probably influenced his decision to include the Nobel Peace Prize in his will. She was awarded the 1905 Nobel Peace Prize for her sincere peace activities. Nobel's longest-lasting romance was an 18-year relationship with Sophia Hess from Celje, whom he met in 1876 in Baden, Wien, where she worked as an employee in a flower shop that catered to wealthy clientele. The extent of their relationship was revealed by a collection of 221 letters sent by Nobel to Hess over 15 years. At the time that they met, Nobel was 43 years old, while Hess was 26. Their relationship, which was not merely platonic, ended when she became pregnant from another man. Although Nobel continued to support her financially until Hess married her child's father to avoid being ostracized as a whore. Hess was a Jewish Christian, and the letters include remarks by Nobel characterized as anti-Semitism. Nobel also displayed characteristics of chauvinism in the letters, writing to Hess, "You neither work, nor write, nor read, nor think," and guilted her, writing, "I have for years now sacrificed, out of purely noble motives, my time, my duties, my intellectual life, my reputation. Residences. Nobel traveled for much of his business life, maintaining companies in Europe and America. From 1865 to 1873, Nobel lived in Krümmel, near Hamburg. From 1873 to 1891, he lived in a house on Avenue Malakoff in Paris. In 1891, after being accused of high treason against France for selling ballastite to Italy, he moved from Paris to Sanremo, Italy, acquiring Villa Nobel, overlooking the Mediterranean Sea, where he died in 1896. In 1894, when he acquired Beaufort's Guldsprung, the Björkborn Manor was included, where he stayed during the summers. It is now a museum. Monument to Alfred Nobel. The monument to Alfred Nobel is in St. Petersburg along the Bolshaya Nevka River on Petrogradskaya Embankment, the street where Nobel's family lived until 1859. It was dedicated in 1991 to mark the 90th anniversary of the first Nobel Prize presentation. Diplomat Thomas Bertelsmann and Professor Arkady Milua were initiators of the creation of the monument in 1989, and they provided funds for the establishment of the monument. The abstract metal sculpture was designed by local artists Sergei Alipov and Pavel Shevchenko, and appears to be an explosion or branches of a tree. Criticism. Criticism of Nobel focuses on his leading role in weapons manufacturing and sales. Some people question his motives in creating his prizes, suggesting they are intended to improve his reputation. Anti-Semitism. Nobel has also been criticized for displays of anti-Semitism. In his letters to Hess, he wrote, "In my experience, Jews never do anything out of goodwill. They act merely out of selfishness or a desire to show off. Among selfish and inconsiderate people, they are the most selfish and inconsiderate. All others exist to be fleeced."